It's time for Supply Chain Now Radio, broadcasting live from the supply chain capital of the country, Atlanta, Georgia. Supply Chain Now Radio spotlights the best in all things supply chain. The people, the technologies, the best practices, and the critical issues of the day. And now, here are your hosts.
Good afternoon, Scott Luton here with you live on Supply Chain Now Radio. Welcome back to the show. We're not in Atlanta today. We're broadcasting live from the South Carolina Fall Logistics Tech Talk event in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, here at the Gilliard Center. We continue this coverage in partnership with the South Carolina Council on Competitiveness. And as we've seen throughout these conversations thus far, and we'll see more here today, this event really highlights some of the leading innovative companies that are driving the logistics industry and the general business environment forward in the state of South Carolina. Quick programming note, like all of our series on Supply Chain Now Radio, you can find our replays on a wide variety of channels, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever else you get your podcasts from. As always, we'd love to have you subscribe so you don't miss anything. So you could hear my co-host agreeing with that statement on all these innovative conversations. Here in the background, Greg White, serial supply chain tech entrepreneur and trusted advisor and board member. Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. It is inspiring to see this. I mean, we sit down with a lot of organizations and events and government entities, and it's really interesting. 2 times in a row, we're 2 for 2. Right? We have seen real momentum, real desire to help, and real ability to deliver here in this state. They're making stuff happen, man.
Agreed. And when you say 2 for 2, you're referencing the last event we were at.
AIAG, SCAC.
Automotive geared.
Yeah.
Which was really neat. There's so much automotive-driven industry, no pun intended, taking place in the state. And then we're back roughly 3 weeks later where we're kind of focused on logistics tech, supply chain tech, freight tech, right?
Tech.
That's right. On the big enterprise level, but also some of the startups that are here, some of the early stage companies that are really offering next generation technology and solutions. So, But here today on this episode, we're welcoming in one of the leaders in the industry, very well recognized global brand, DHL Supply Chain. We welcome in Jon Cox, Director of Solutions Design with the organization. Jon, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
We are too. We hated that. I understood you gave a keynote earlier today. I heard it went really well. Some of the folks said that they had to pull you off the stage. Too many Q&A.
That's exactly right. Yeah, no, we had a great response from the crowd, which is always good to see, right? We had I gave a presentation about innovation. We had somebody from our real estate solutions team up there. We're making a lot of investment in South Carolina. Got a good reaction from the crowd in the room today.
Yeah,
it's always good to have that, right?
So speaking of the big investment in South Carolina, DHL came out with news not too long ago about a huge new, I think, $100 million distribution investment. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty exciting. It's it's St. George, South Carolina is the location. It's approximate to it's 26 and 95 where those overlap. It's a nice strategic location for us and our customers. I believe it's 1 million square feet total is what the planned development is. We've got a part of that I think is ready to go for a customer, right? But this is one of those kind of buy it before you need it type of a situation, right? And so that's part of our real estate strategy is we want to be looking a few years out to what's the next area that we need to invest in, right? And so years ago we had done that upstate in South Carolina, right? So we've got four distribution centers that we run up in the I-85 corridor, right? And so we're looking to expand our presence, right? There's a lot of interest, you talk about the automotive sector, talk about engineering and manufacturing in the state of South Carolina. It's a growth opportunity for us here in North America. This is our next campus area.
Yeah. Huge, 125 acres. DHL Commerce Park, as you mentioned, in St. George. 3 new buildings, huge facility. And I missed this when I heard the news first a few months back. It's going to be completed quick. It's going to be completed by first quarter 2020.
That's the plan, yes.
You don't waste any time at DHL.
No, absolutely not.
So let's talk more about, I think most folks are familiar with DHL. DHL
Somewhat.
supply chain. Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah.
DHL supply chain is one of the offerings of this global enterprise. If you could tell us more about DHL supply chain and then tell us more about your role within it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So DHL supply chain, as you mentioned, we're a division of Deutsche Post DHL. Deutsche Post DHL being a $60 billion company, present in 200 countries across the globe. We've got 4 divisions, so parcel, e-commerce, DHL global forwarding, DHL supply chain, and then I think a lot of people are most familiar probably with the DHL Express business, here in the States,
right.
But then worldwide, right? Those would be the trucks you see out on the road, right? And so our division is the contract logistics division of DHL. We're the world's leading contract logistics company, and here in North America, we are the largest operator of warehouse space. So I think we're about 2x our competition in operating warehouse space. So
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, we've got a very large presence in the warehousing side. We also run, I think we run about 1,500 power units in our dedicated fleets. So we've got a lot of dedicated fleets, mostly auto aftermarket delivery, but then we also we're in all verticals with our fleets. Retail delivery. We are running, for various alcohol distributors, we're running shuttle operations. So we've got a pretty broad scope even within the transportation. We also manage about $1.5 billion of freight under management for a variety of customers.
So currently as Director of Solutions Design, I want to talk more about what you do in that role, but let's go backwards a little bit. I'm flipping things around.
Sure.
Tell us more about, your professional journey and kind of what led to what you do now.
Yeah, no, great question. So I went to college at Ohio State. I was getting a business degree there, and I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, and so I met with an advisor who introduced me to, they had a good logistics program there.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, this sounds pretty interesting, right? And so got a degree in logistics management, and got my first job out of college just doing load planning and track and trace. And I thought, maybe, I don't know if this is exactly what I want to do, right? So it's just kind of like, really just get your feet wet, right? But then I actually came to work for, it was then called Excel in 2007.
Yeah.
And I was involved with, we had a final mile delivery company, a division of of Excel at the time called Excel Direct, and we did furniture and appliance white glove delivery, and I ran their centralized routing team, and that was a very that was interesting, right? That was very unique. When I was at my first job, it was all it was a tire manufacturer. It was inbound to OEM. This was going into people's houses. Totally different situation, right? And so got exposed to a lot of stuff within Excel, right? So I moved into the solutions design team not long after that. And I think what's really exciting about our department is we get to touch so much of the organization, right? And so in my role, we have our areas of expertise across our different verticals within DHL supply chain, but, I'm touching all sorts of different operations, different projects, right? And so, to me, I love the fast-paced nature of logistics and supply chain. I love that there's a lot of interesting challenges out there, right? I'm drawn to problem solving, and I think there's an infinite amount of that in this industry, right? So
let's talk about some of the challenges out there with this next question. What's on your radar more than others right now? I mean, what are you hearing about? Where are you spending your time? What do your customers care most about?
Yeah, so from again, solutions design, we're about 2/3 of our work is on new business, right? So we're always looking for what's going to make us attractive in the marketplace, right? And so that's been innovation broadly speaking, right? But trying to find whether it's an autonomous solution within the 4 walls, right? So whether we're talking about an AGV solution or collaborative robotics, right? What's something that has a good return on investment for us? Because you got to keep in mind within our space, we're on 3 to 5 year contracts typically, right? So we need to be cognizant of the upfront investment, right, and be able to recoup that investment not just for us but for our customers. But now that the cost of technology is coming down, you're seeing a lot more things in play, and customers want to see that innovation, right? So for us, it's changed from we've been a little hesitant on innovation in the past. Now we're all all in right now. Everybody in the organization has ownership over thinking about things that are out there in the marketplace that we can bring in, whether it's a robotics vendor or something we can develop in house, right? And so the culture has really changed to one where innovation comes first, right? And so I think that's been a big change that I've seen over the years. What keeps me up though is being kind of thinking what's next, right? And so there's a lot of buzz out there, right? Whether it's blockchain or autonomous vehicles or autonomous MHE or drones, whatever it is, there's a lot of buzzwords out there. What is going to be that next impactful thing that's going to differentiate DHL in the marketplace? And so we got a lot of teams working on this, right? That's where a lot of my attention goes.
I bet.
So you're trying to predict sort of the next big thing.
Yeah, well,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and in our role, the organization's looking to solutions design to help lead that, right?
Yeah.
And so our group is, we attend a lot of industry conferences. We go and meet with vendors and we hear what's hear what's new and upcoming, right? And we've introduced some innovations to the business through that, right? So, whether it's going to Modex or ProMat or what have you, right? Go to the big industry conferences, meet everybody that's there, and try to find an application for a specific customer when the time's right.
So when you must spend a lot of time talking to your customers as well, right?
Yeah.
To understand the issues that they're having.
Right.
Is there anything that you're seeing that people are shouting?
Yeah, people want faster. They want flexible, right? They
Faster
want
and flexible?
faster, flexible, responsive, right? Because think about it. That's where their business is going, right? I mean, everybody, people talk about the Amazon effect, almost ad nauseum, right? But that's where everybody's mindset is, definitely in retail, but even in the consumer packaged goods companies are thinking about this, right? Order sizes are getting smaller, right? So you got to think about what's that do to a warehouse profile, right? What's my labor going to look like? Even in our existing operations, we're seeing just quicker SLAs about processing orders through the warehouse. On the transportation front, right, it's all about visibility, right? I want to be able to be know where my freight's at, be responsive if something happens in transit. How can I recover that shipment, right? So that's the pressure that our customers are facing from their customers, right?
Yeah.
So that's our role as a third-party logistics provider to take care of that for our customers.
Ton of pressure out there.
Yeah.
Right? Ton of pressure. So how can folks learn more about, clearly you are out, you mentioned Modex and ProMat. Biggest.
I mean, we've got people at a lot of industry conferences, right? So, we had a contingent out at CSCMP a few weeks ago, right?
California.
Yep, absolutely. We're at most of the major conferences. We've got a booth. We'll usually have some folks who are speaking, right? Obviously, our website, dhl.com, is a great place to go. We're all over LinkedIn as well, right? So you can look for me. You can look for my colleagues.
Right.
So Modex in Atlanta in March.
Right.
We're going to be there as well. In fact, Modex is hosting our 2020 Atlanta Supply Chain Awards.
Okay.
So as much as we love Charleston and what's going on here, we're also proud of what goes on from an end-to-end supply chain standpoint in Atlanta. So are you going to be at Modex in March?
I don't believe I don't know. I don't know yet. Yeah. So I might see you there. I was at I for Transport in Atlanta over the summer.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. So I think I saw you guys' booth.
Yeah.
I want to say so.
Yeah. I think you guys may have met with Manjeet Singh.
Yes.
He's part of our team. Yeah.
Okay.
So we work a lot with Manjeet.
John, were you also at Jumpstart?
Yes.
Last January.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Absolutely. Also with Manjeet.
Yes, we interviewed Manjeet on that was one of our earliest trade shows we covered in person.
Yeah.
And he gave a great interview.
Yeah.
Innovation certainly was a big part of innovation and technology.
Work very closely with his team, yes.
Oh, man, he's sharp.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to ask you the toughest question.
Okay.
Ohio State.
Yes.
Right? They're looking awful dominant thus
Yes,
far.
they are.
So got a big game, and then we're going to date ourselves, but they got a big game against Wisconsin coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
Yes.
What and also to tie it back in locally is the quarterback that transferred from UGA.
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields, yeah.
Went to high school with my daughters.
It's looking unstoppable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this the year? Could be.
Yeah.
the year?
So here's my take on it. This is the most complete Ohio State team I think I've ever seen. I'm 37 years old, so I remember very fondly the '95 team that really kind of laid an egg against Michigan and then against Peyton Manning in the Citrus Bowl. But I think this is. compared to the national title teams that we've had, every bit as good as one of those teams. And so, Justin Fields has been incredible as a first-year starter for us. And then you got J.K. Dobbins, Master Teague in the backfield. Feeling pretty good about our chances this year.
You are.
But we'll see. We got a big one. We got a big one this Saturday against Wisconsin. They got a pretty tough team, and they're going to be angry.
Yeah,
so,
they are.
Yeah,
yes.
We'll see.
Well, fascinating. I appreciate. I think to have supply chain leaders like yourself come out and engage and be at these events, sharing best practices, sharing what you're learning. And really supporting the rest of the players in the industry. A lot of the startups that are here, which is important. Making connections between the big players and startups and all points in between. So,
and I love meeting with the startups. To be honest with you, I mean, in DHL, we're a massive corporation, right? We got a different culture. But when you meet with these startups, I mean, just the visionaries who are running those companies, the passion, they can, you learn so much from those companies just from having a conversation, right? Whether or not you end up doing business with them, they're thinking about things in a different way, and I think it's healthy to be around those folks.
Absolutely. Well put. So big thanks, Jon Cox, Director Solutions Design with DHL Supply Chain. Check him out online or via social media or at some of the events that are out there. They're all of them. They got an army of DHLers that are out there driving the industry forward. So big thanks for your time, Jon.
Absolutely.
Okay, so to our audience, thanks for listening and tuning in on this episode here at the South Carolina Fall Logistics Tech Talk event. Stay tuned as we continue our coverage. And, of course, be sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever else you get your podcasts from. Find past interviews, upcoming events, and more at supplychainnowradio.com, including a new blog we're launching just this week. So on behalf of Greg White, Scott Luton, and the entire Supply Chain Now Radio gang, this is, this is Scott Luton. I was going to say it twice.
Say it.
This is Greg and Scott Luton tuning out one more time. But have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time on Supply Chain Now Radio. Thanks, everybody.